Yeah.
Welcome to episode 10 of the Memory Core. Am I still good?
Is that it?
Yep, that's all I got.
Yeah.
Kickstarter
What are your
edition. There you go.
well, since we're doing another remote session, what are you drinking?
Well, it should be what I already had. 2 margaritas. I did the first one, um, let's see, lemonade, 2 shots of tequila, like half a lime, a little bit of agave nectar, shook it all up with some ice, had that, and then on the second one I used fruit punch.
Jesus, man.
What? They were
I'm having
good.
a chamomile tea.
Yeah, I mean, if you could have come over, it would have been fun. But I guess, got to make the best of it. My wife doesn't drink. I mean, she does, but she can't right now. So it's just me, party by myself.
Boy, doesn't that just sum everything up? Um, yeah, so for those of you out there, this is the second time we're recording this podcast, and really the reason why is I pulled it the first time. I said I don't want to release it because I felt it was, I don't know. I didn't feel like I did a particularly good job because there's a lot to be said. So this is the second time we're kind of doing it. And part of the problem with doing it remote like this is that it is, obviously the conversations don't flow as well. But, Will County in Illinois, it's just say our exact zip code in our county has the highest COVID positivity rate. And last week it peaked at like almost 21% of tests were positive, which is really, really high. And, we both work with the public. And so it's just kind of like one of those things. Well, we'll just, play it safe, do things by remote. And we'll see if those numbers come down. It sucks. I mean, we could probably hang out.
Yeah,
We'd probably be fine. But you don't know. You don't know.
Yeah, you don't. So yeah, that just to give you another idea of when we're recording this. This is right after Thanksgiving too. So,
Yeah.
it's going to get worse from here. What was it? What'd you say? Like 13% less people traveled this year? That's it?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who? Yeah. So hopefully you guys are staying safe. The Kickstarter dropped, and I think they're almost done fulfilling all orders across the world. I think there are a couple holdouts in like Australia or something, but it looks like they're finally getting their miniatures.
Yeah, I think so. No, I mean, all we're doing right now is just holding out for a wave 2.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, to be honest, I don't even know if I got anything in wave 2. I don't remember.
Yeah, I do. I ordered some of the packs with the fire moths in them, fire moth kit fox, stuff like that. I'm probably gonna sell off the Nova Cats and all the weird mechs that probably shouldn't be in the Clan Invasion Kickstarter, but everybody wanted, so I'm probably gonna be getting rid of those.
I think a lot of those probably came up so they could put out miniatures for the Takayad turning points. Well, it's not really turning points. It's actually it's a full, thick old book. We got the code for our downloads, and it's a pretty big book. It looks cool. Again, it uses the Chaos Campaign system, which is something that I don't know, still kind of eludes me for some reason, but because I haven't really sat down and read through it, it's not just something you just pick up and you go, okay, I got the idea. You got to really go through it, and I've been putting it off. So yeah.
Yeah, I should probably go through it too.
Funnily enough, and I'll just put this out there. We Dan and I had an idea to kind of, well, we had approached the guys over, the writers over at Catalyst, said, hey, we have this idea for a kind of Takayad refresh to focus on Alpha Strike. And this was, I don't know, like 2 or 3 years ago, maybe more, maybe
No,
more.
that was a while ago. Yeah.
And we had some ideas for scenarios, and we wanted to, well, and then what we heard is that they wanted to try and do sort of a combat manual and do it all kind of all in one. And we were trying to figure out a way to make it work. Of course, we had our ideas of what we wanted the Takayad campaign to look like. So more along the lines of sort of scenarios, but you choose your own forces, and you choose your forces sort of based on what units were in what battle at Takayad. And so, like, okay, you get this comm guard force, and they pretty much all have to be jump capable. And then special unit abilities, all based on the Combat Manual series. And that was the only thing that came out was Combat Manual Mercenaries and Combat Manual Kurita. And they're really good books. And unfortunately, it seems that the whole series has been put on hold. And actually, the cover of the new A Game of Armored Combat was the original cover for the Combat Manual Davian. That's supposed to be a scene from the Warrior Trilogy where Hans Davian goes out and he kicks the crap out of almost an entire company of Comguard mech warriors masquerading as Capellan Death Commandos as they attacked the New Avalon Institute of Science to try and destroy their copy of the Hell Memory Core.
You could not get more Davian with that cover.
No, yeah, it was pretty great. But they did have to change it because originally it was supposed to be Marauder. Because in the story, Hans Davian rips the arm up of Marauder and like beats the shit out of everybody with it. And that was right when they were developing that cover, and it was right when Harmony Gold filed the lawsuit against them. And so they had to probably redo that cover. I mean, it's probably one of those things like, thank God for layers, when you're doing things like in Photoshop, because you can just, everything, every new artifact, you can do it as a different layer, and you can easily go out, take it out and redo it. So, but yeah, so I flipped through it just to see, was there anything even remotely like what we had proposed or any ideas that we had? Like, so one of mine was the idea that the Jade Falcon campaign would use sort of like the rolling maps idea, and the Comguard player could, place, hidden ambushes. It would sort of be this sort of rolling campaign idea, and it didn't work with what Chaos Campaign wanted, and it wasn't what they wanted. And it just kind of, I don't know, it was sort of like, okay,
We were going for more of a historical kind of look at it, because we wanted to actually do a track system kind of like what they use with Chaos Campaign, but we wanted like flashpoints like you see in the current computer game, this is before that game came out.
Yeah.
But we were kind of doing our own flashpoint system where it's like you have to get to this scenario and then you take it from there. Yeah. I was trying to do the same thing. I was coming up with I think it was working on Steel Viper, which is why that's why I painted that trinary. Because before Devil's Bath, they get bombarded with artillery. So I wanted to have that somehow lead into the Devil's Bath scenario, depending on how well you do in the first one.
Right. And, one of mine, I think the campaign I first worked on was the Smoke Jaguars. And so things like the Dinju Pass, and getting to the one city target. And the idea that, so sort of taking, the idea that there were certain events that happened and wanting to represent those events versus the greater Chaos Campaign where things are more fluid and amorphous. I think I had a segment on some of the lighter elements, the scouting elements and what they did and kind of how you approach things. And it was much different than what they were looking for. And I just could not, get that secret sauce. And in many respects, seeing how big the Takayad book is and seeing really, a lot of these books have like a full like staff dedicated to it. I mean, it was really, I know a lot of these guys freelance, but I think, for you and I with our job responsibilities, it wasn't realistic, which is okay. So I was just interested to see if there's anything even remotely like what we were thinking about, even with like special unit abilities along the lines of the combat manuals. And it really wasn't there.
Yeah, it'll be fun to go through it. I mean, I just downloaded it maybe an hour ago, so I didn't have enough time to even like skim through it.
Yeah, there's a lot of new variants in there. The supplemental, the Takai supplemental that came out, has all the record sheets in it, which is good. Um,
Oh, that's cool.
I am bummed that the Fire Moth's arms are basically useless, though. It's basically just the lower arms attached to shoulders. That's kind of one of those things. It's like that was a bad call.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't match the quirk anymore for overhead arms.
Right, right. So yeah, no, it's just that's one of those things. So, okay, whatever. Um, but I mean, overall, it seems like there are a couple problems with the Kickstarter. I think you mentioned like the dice, which I still haven't really taken a close look at the dice that I got. But but overall, the spit and polish of the new Kickstarter box set is really slick, and that's definitely a plus for CGL. I hope that you'll get to a point where you definitely see both of those on the shelves right next to each other at your local game store.
Yeah, they do stick out when they're on the shelf because I've been to Barnes & Noble out here, and even when I was at work, I had to work out in Missouri, and they stick out. I think they got presentation down pretty good on the new products. Yeah, as far as like pluses, well, I guess we can get the negatives out of the way for the Kickstarter first. The dice are a definite big negative. At first, when I did my unboxing video, I didn't think they looked bad, like at first glance, but after actually taking a closer look at them, you could see there are some issues with it, and there are even some people who had the pips actually fall out of them as they're using the dice. So, but they did put the survey out, so they're probably going to send replacements for them. But as far as like anything negative that we haven't like discussed on other episodes or anything, it really for me is just the dice. I liked everything else that we had in there, opposed to the other, gripes I have, like the Nova, having hips.
Yeah. I kind of constantly. Well, one of the things I wonder about with like the new designs is it just that I have in my head in general what these designs should look like, and it's been 25 years of that, and so I do expect them to look a certain way, at least subconsciously. But some of the new miniatures, I mean, they do look good. I mean, some of the new designs I think are a hard swing and a miss. The like the Nova, the Fire Moth, the new Flashman, the new Crockett, the Atlas I think is a big swing and a miss. But a lot of them do look pretty good. And I think if it is frustrating. Again, I think it's frustrating that people look at designs, miniatures that are like 30 years old, and they're like, "Oh, it's just crap." It's like, these miniatures are pretty closely modeled on the artwork, and so I think it's unfair to dunk on them. And it seems like a lot of people like new stuff just because it's new, but some of them do look really good. And I think if it no matter what, if it does draw new players to the game, it's a plus no matter what. It is kind of silly when people are like, oh, I don't want to play this game because of the old miniature. It's like, do you just not play Monopoly because you have to flip a top hat? Like,
Yeah, I know. Well, the top hat looks terrible now. Or that battleship, it doesn't look like a battleship. There's not enough detail on it.
yeah. But I think, no matter what, if it does bring new players to the game, that's cool. And yeah, I'll still piss and moan about some stuff, but it's okay. It's okay. If it's a plus, it's a plus. I still have like a Lance of Oz Scouts that I can paint, so it doesn't really matter. But
You
yeah.
still have miniatures to paint? Get out of here.
Oh man. Oh, I've been in a funk with miniatures. I've been in a funk. I haven't picked up a paintbrush in months, man. It's bad. I don't know what happened. Time just went by.
Yeah, I painted up, I mean, people have seen it online too, my Rasselhog regulars that I've always wanted to paint. But I did it with the old Camo Specs book. The paint scheme in there. I think it's on, what is it, on a Phoenix Hawk? or no. It's on a panther. It's almost like a desert
Oh yeah,
kind of camo.
Yeah,
But all I did was I put blue highlights on it.
Specs book, yeah.
Yeah. And then I painted another 12 as well, it got my wife into playing BattleTech, which is a good thing. We actually played again today for a little bit. But I painted a company as a tribute to a wrestling faction called the Dark Order, and it's like a dark tone, like real dark colors, like a black almost, with purple highlights, and then each of them have, like, the Marauder has stars on it because she's dedicated to Anna Jay to star at a show. The Battle Master's Brody Lee, so he has eyes all over him. And then the one of the Valkyries has like chicken wings all over it, which is a reference to John Silver. He calls himself the Meat Man now, which makes it even more perfect. But he usually says like Johnny Hungy. Like he has all these like ridiculous catchphrases. But regardless, she posted the picture to them on Twitter, and a couple of them actually liked it, which really made my day. It made me feel a little bit better about my painting.
Nice. It's nice to be recognized for your achievements, no matter how small or large they are. This is nice.
Trying to get my daughter into it because I painted the Pride Urban Mech too. It's sitting on her shelf right now in her room.
Someday, man. Someday.
Baby steps. But hey, the wife's playing it, so can't.
Well, it's funny though too. It's like, I got the Kickstarter stuff, and we'll get into this more. And again, a little bit of a retread from the last time we tried to record this podcast, but feel a little bit. I mean, not off by BattleTech, but a little bit burnt out because there's stuff I'm waiting to get, and we're just not getting it, and it's been frustrating. But I wasn't. I've been happy with the Kickstarter. I have been happy with it. But to be honest, I was more excited about Hasbro doing a Hero Quest thing, which I thought was really cool. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, I mean, the Kickstarter overall seems to be pretty successful, even though there were delays with it. Of course, COVID's been a factor in that too. But yeah, man, yeah, it's who knows? Maybe next year there'll be a community to play.
That would be nice. You can only hope. As far as the miniatures, I think I said that we tried recording last time, but God, it's terrible painting them. It might just be with how I paint, but just all of the details that are on them. It's like sometimes it could be a real.
Oh yeah.
I miss the old curvy. It's just like single panels. There's not like a panel on top of a panel on top of a panel.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely can be some fatigue when detailing. But there's tricks to the trade. So you do kind of have to keep up with it. But no, I definitely know what you mean. And I haven't painted any of them yet that I've gotten. So we'll see what it's like when I get around to doing them. Although, I have so many others that I want to get done. So yeah. I mean, in terms of because you mentioned the dice with the Kickstarter, I think one of the things that did frustrate me with the Kickstarter was, again, like the new rule books, and we talked about that in that one segment you cut out, and
yeah,
I think it kind of comes, it does have that problem where there's so much of the rule books that have so many illustrations and so many pictures, so many explainers, and then all the fluff, stories, short stories that break up sections, and you kind of run into the issue where you have presentation versus utility, and it does seem to be a problem with those rule books. I mean, both there with the layout, which goes in that whole rant I did, the whole, just frustration with trying to find, what the fuck anything is in those books.
It's a very real rant, man. I mean, like I said in the last episode, I actually sold those books, and that was one of the primary reasons. I hate looking through them.
Yeah, and I don't intend to sell them, but yeah, it's you get them and you're like, oh man, I thought they would have fucking fixed this. They definitely like my original copy of Tac Ops. It was kind of weird because it seemed like when it was being printed, the text size was not quite consistent. It was noticeably smaller in that version of Tac Ops, and the print wasn't quite as sharp as it should have been. So I'm definitely glad they fixed that. The feel of paper is excellent. The covers, I think, are excellent. Just, again, the way it's put together, the quality of its assembly is very good. The problem is, again, is the layout and what's in there. And it seems, unfortunately, it also seems very dicey that we're going to get, anything new for A Time of War. It looks like they are, going to stick with Destiny, which, if Destiny works for people, that's great. I know we did our episode and we weren't too crazy on it. Some people seem to be. So if it takes off, it takes off. But it kind of looks like A Time of War is, dead in the water.
Yeah, there were people who were just happy with MechWarrior 2nd Edition.
Yeah. I mean, from what I understand, MechWarrior 2nd Edition, the characters get a bit or a lot too overpowered, which is, I would say, it's a little bit problematic. But I think there's definitely there is a good skeleton to A Time of War, but the character creation is way too laborious, and on top of that, the rewards and the amount of points needed for improvement in skills is it's a bit too much. And there's a good thread about that on the forum that kind of goes over the main problems with each system and then the pros of each system. That's really good. But yeah, it seems like Time of War, which had a lot of potential, looks to be kind of just done, which is really a shame.
Yeah, I never really got too into A Time of War. Yeah, unfortunately. Hey, we tried doing that small campaign for a little bit. And yeah. Oh no, but the demo that they had was really good. If you Justin's character with the cigarette.
Yeah. Well, again, like the system has a good skeleton. It's just kind of everything over it, and it's where a second edition would probably be really beneficial for it. And it's not going to happen. Like there are definitely a lot of things that can be tweaked about it to make it, work better. But it doesn't need like a complete overhaul. Like the mechanics don't need an overhaul. It just sort of, again, character creation and getting to, leveling up skills.
Yeah, the mechanics flowed. It's just the character creation. It's like if you're going to invest that much time making a character for it to die so quick, it's like the last thing you would want to do is go back to make another character because it's that bad. Right.
It's like you think with Pathfinder, Dungeons and Dragons, it's relatively simple, relatively easy. But yeah. Overall, again, the Kickstarter seems to be pretty well received. People are pretty happy with it, so that's good. That's good.
It's just with Destiny, it just seems like it'll be a good system because it ties into Alpha Strike and Classic and all of it, like almost flawlessly. But we already covered most of that in our one of our early episodes. I think it was on the second episode.
Yeah, because I think this one they had just dropped the Destiny beta or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if anything, I think Battle Mech Manual, that one's a solid look into how things may go.
I don't think so. I
You don't
think,
think so?
Battle Mech Manual it's the one thing they're doing, and that's it. You know, otherwise, if you want more advanced stuff, there's Total Warfare. I think that's how they're going to do it.
Yeah, that's rough. Because I almost like the idea of them having a battle mech manual, vehicle manual, and then maybe like a conventional unit manual. But
Well, I think that would be, I think that would be maybe too much paper, and
yeah, that's true.
really, you look at the old compendium, you look at the master rules, and they managed to fit a lot of rules in a relatively small amount of space. And a lot of that, I think, again, comes down to the fact that they have the layout right. They don't have a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be in there. Again, like some of those stories are really good that you can read, but they don't really need to be in there. The stories should be probably somewhere else, which kind of, it does sort of lead into, or will lead into, another topic that's been kind of bugging me, and that's been the fiction for the universe. So, yeah, there's better ways to make, those rule books more effective, and a lot of it is getting rid of extraneous and superfluous stuff and better layout.
Yeah. If we had to discuss another positive from the Kickstarter, the maps are a plus.
Oh, definitely.
The maps just look gorgeous. Even playing on it again today, the fact that you can actually recognize hexes and what levels they are, and it's clearly defined, and it's easy to look at with the eyes, because Alan was colorblind. He had trouble seeing purple, and we had that. I forgot what map that was, but it was a nightmare for him to look at. Some of them. But yeah, like I really like the neoprene mats. I know what kind of stinks about those is, it's two mats, you can't move them around, but hey, I mean, they do look good. They have some weight to them. Cats like them. Even the maps that come in the boxes, they look really good too. They're same style, and yeah, I mean, when we're talking about presentation with the game, I think the maps are another real strong thing too.
Yeah, and having access to the maps is really one of the most important aspects of the game, and that's been frustrating that those maps that you can just pick up have not been available, and that was one of the things we talked about in a previous podcast. And just the idea that the things you need to play the game are not easily available, and that's really frustrating. It's something that needed to be fixed for a long time, and I'm glad they're fixing it. And I'm glad we're going to be seeing new maps and new environments, which is really awesome that they're getting that done. But no, this was a thing I brought up on the forum in a previous conversation, and it was sort of ignored or it was misunderstood. But one of the important things about playing BattleTech or any game is that you have the materials that you need to play it. And if you don't have easy access to that, you're not going to do it. And granted, yeah, there are PDFs online that you can get off of the BattleCore or the Catalyst game store. But now you got to go to a print shop and get them printed out. And it can be one step's too many,
Yeah, it's just not convenient. But yeah, I really do. I like the maps. And I guess another good thing about the miniatures too is how everything, like, they actually took scale into account. So they're, if you play Classic, it really doesn't matter. But, Alpha Strike seems to be a real strong part of the property. And the people that do play Alpha Strike, scale is really important, especially when it comes to things like partial cover or, like going behind terrain features, things like that, even comparing the, like, mech sizes and that. So, that's another plus, just how uniform things are becoming now. It's almost like over the past, like, 30 so years, like, all of these products came out and, like, they were all, like, in their own different spectrum, and they're now finally all coming together. And if you decide to move from Destiny into BattleTech, it's you can use them together. Like they're going to mix well together. Same thing like if you're using Alpha Strike on like classic Battletech stuff, that stuff will work good together because you can do map conversions and, things like that. Or there might be rules that you're used to, like variable damage. Well, there you go. If you're rolling per point of damage, then you're going to adapt the classic well because you're rolling per weapon. So you can see the difference between the two. I don't know. I think it looks good. Like just overall, like they had a goal in mind, and I think they hit it.
Yeah. Obviously a big part of that was how successful the Kickstarter was, that they had that money that could be put into development of these things. That's really important. It does make you wonder, how much of the, irregularity of product releases was due to, the lack of funds to get them done. Yeah, hopefully, hopefully we'll see some really cool stuff continue to come out down the line.
If there's one thing I want to see though, those map or not the map packs, the hex packs come back. Especially with how clean the maps look now, it would be nice to get some little hexagon buildings and stuff you could throw on the maps. Even if there's like strips of roads you can use to add to it, like lakes, volcanoes, like because they have all these different. I think they have it in the Battle Mech manual for some environments. Just things to represent all of that, like on your map sheet. Kind of like what City Tech gave us, like those little counters for like infantry and buildings and bridges.
Yeah, totally.
Flesh them out a little more.
Well, I just grabbed some stuff from, her name is Cat Draws. She might have even done some work for Catalyst, but she basically has created different maps for Battletech, with hex spaces and everything like that, and punch outs. Some of them look really quite cool. A lot of really cool terrains, and so I need to go and get those over to a printer to get them printed out. But I'm very excited about them because there's a lot of those things that we've been talking about that was available up there. So yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely interested. I'm definitely excited for it.
We should try and do that on some cardstock. See how it turns out. You can cut it up with a razor knife or something.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully the guys at the print shop will do some of the cutting for me, so I don't mess them up.
Yeah, that's true too.
But yeah, no, I'm definitely excited for them. Yeah. I mean, one of the things I'm not excited about to kind of transition is well, I guess I am. I don't know. I guess I'm frustrated. Talking about being a little bit burnt out or a little bit fatigued by everything. Some of that is just really being ready and wanting Ilclan to come out, and in general being frustrated with the new fiction.
Real quick, everybody, this is the part where we're going to have some spoilers.
We're going to have a lot of spoilers. There's
going to be a lot.
So, yeah, I mean, amongst our, like, 4 dedicated listeners, yeah, I don't know how many of you guys sit down and really think, okay, we, come to this universe because we really like the fiction, or, so this ongoing meta plot, drives it for us. And I mean, for me, a lot of what has kept me into the game has been the fiction. And we haven't had a lot of that lately for the past, maybe decade. That's been changing. We've been getting short stories and other things, but, the plot hasn't really moved forward like it has in the past. And maybe in the past, maybe moved at a bit of a breakneck pace. A lot of the things in the 90s, happened. A lot of stuff happened in the 90s because in the fiction, a lot of things happened in that decade, in that storyline. But it's been really, really just lacking lately. And we've been getting new books, but I haven't been crazy about them.
Yeah. if we could start anywhere, the only one I'm really familiar with, because you read almost everything you've gotten. I haven't, but we've had a discussion before. I think the one that really bothers me is this stone heel turn, if that's what we can call it.
Yeah.
The Devlin Stone Vince Russo swerve. We'll call it that for the wrestling fans that do listen to this.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the whole. So, in the defense of Catalyst, I mean, they were, and I want to be careful too because I'm working on a short story. I love to get it submitted to Shrapnel. I love them to say, "Hey, this is pretty good. We're gonna publish it. Keep at it. Keep writing because we want to."
We're not talking crap on anybody in no way because it takes a lot of talent to write.
And in general, like a lot of the books I've been having problems with lately have been written by Pardo, and to be honest, a lot of Pardo stuff I've really enjoyed. I mean, he's been involved in the universe for a really, really long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's done stuff from TRO 3025 to a lot of different fiction. Particularly his series focusing on Archer Christopher during the FedCom Civil War.
He did Roar of Honor too. That was
I really dug a lot of that stuff. But some of the things he's written lately, I've been like, ugh. And the fiction's really important if you care about the meta because the source books are not always reliable narrators because they're sort of written by third parties or intelligence divisions. They don't know everything that goes on. And for example, I was doing research and sort of for our eventual episode on why Alexander Kerensky sucks, right? And so I was reading Liberation of Terra Volume 1 and 2, and this was apparently figured out years ago, but I only just realized because I only just read these bits in the book, the opening fiction, but Jennifer Winson, Nicholas Kerensky's wife and part of the founders of the clans, and the brother and Jerome Winson, the Khan of Clan Wolf, and the second Ilkhan was her brother. Well, it turns out Jennifer Winson is not really Jennifer Winson. She's actually the last Cameron. She was the illegitimate child of Richard Cameron and his sister after he sexually assaulted her. And she was, because it would have been a big, PR disaster if that came out, especially for Helena being a young teenager of, the ruling house of the entire Inner Sphere via the Star League, is pregnant as a teenager. That would be bad news bears. So, the child was, given up and placed with an assumed identity with the caretaker. And just kind of by happenstance in Moscow, she meets, Nicholas Kerensky and his brother Andrei and his mother Katyusha, kind of hiding out from, Amaris. Of course, it wasn't known that Alexander Kerensky had a wife or children. That was why they were kept safe. But stuff like that, they met, and apparently Jennifer Winson had a really big part to play in the founding of the clans. And of course, there's a question, obviously Jerome Winson knew something. He was a captain, I think, in the Star League at the time. Mm-hmm. So obviously he knew something about her. But it kind of, again, runs into that problem. Okay, we find out through this opening fiction in the Liberation of Terra source books and through the different journals in excerpts throughout the two books. But we don't get that told to us explicitly. So how does that then play out? Well, I guess the assumption is that she must have had some sort of pull with the founding of the clans. And that was being told to us in a trilogy. The first book we have in English that was released in segments through the Battle Corps website when that was functioning. The second book was translated into German and released in Germany, but we never got the original in English. And the third book is yet to be written. So, where does that story go? And that's the frustrating part. You get these tidbits, you get these revelations in the fiction, but you don't get it in the source books.
Disappeared faster than Clan Wolverine.
Seriously. And again, like with the Dark Age, sure, I'm frustrated that as a Fed Suns fan, it's not that the Fed Suns have to win every time. They can definitely lose. Let them lose. But it is frustrating to see them on the ropes so badly in the Dark Age, and like, when is that going to resolve, and how is that going to resolve? Why have the Fed Suns not learned their lesson, like, ever?
Yeah.
Like, you have the War of Davian Succession. Like, I think it's the second hidden war, the Starleague era. You have the first Succession War, and that falling apart, and then you have everything with the Dark Age. You're hemmed in by two belligerent neighbors that have a history of not following through with anything. So why would you not, be ready for the worst? So yeah, to see them on the ropes again like that belly, that's frustrating. But then you see stuff that's, being, revealed, particularly with, say, like Dao Shin Lao. He's really charismatic. He's really successful. He's really intelligent, but he's got a bit of a God complex, or a complete God complex. So you think they're lining up the idea that the Capellans are going to fall apart and have a total collapse. So where is that? When is that happening? Like, you're hinting at it. Is that going to go somewhere with the Ill Clan? And I don't know. And then like the sort of heel turn thing with Devlin Stone.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah, it does feel out of nowhere. Or it feels very recent because it doesn't match what was being mentioned in so many of the other books, the Dark Age novels. That feels very Game of Thrones-ish. Game of Thrones season 8.
Yeah, the biggest thing is that, even with your examples that you put out there, but BattleTech has always had this slow burn to get to where certain events happen. So Stone just turning the way he did, honestly, it makes sense for what they're trying to do, if that's what their end goal is, but I don't feel like it's very... I don't even know if that's the way it really should have gone, because, like, even with the fall of the Star League, how long did that take? You had Amaris, who was wronged, and then it was like a uphill battle to, like, befriend a Cameron, and then, everything just fell apart in the end. It wasn't like a sudden, like, oh, I'm a bad guy now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, even with Kerensky, like, when he left, it's almost ironic that his son is the one who's the biggest dick of them all,
Yeah. Yeah.
Even then, like, there's these little subtle things like that. But I don't feel like, when you told me about the whole Stone thing, I think I was even like, are you kidding me? Really? I thought it would have been something like different. Like, even, I mean, a lot of people are even like, oh, we want a renewed clan invasion, and you can't see me because there's no camera or anything, but I'm like kind of pretending they're there, and I'm shoving them out of the way, like, get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there could have been... I almost feel like there could have been something better, or a different route they could have taken to get to Ill Clan than that.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of... I imagine there's a lot of things behind the scenes that were going on. And, part of it is WizKids probably didn't really have a plan. So there was no idea how to resolve it.
Yeah.
And then you see, they're wanting to get fiction getting back out there, and they want to do a bunch of releases, and of course the Kickstarter comes along. And they probably saw that the original idea of having a massive Ill Clan book probably wasn't going to work that well, so they split it up into two, leaving it on a cliffhanger. So yeah, we're relying on a lot of the fiction to come out to kind of satisfy what's going on. But even the fiction that's been coming out just really hasn't has just not scratched the itch. And yeah, the Stone stuff, the whole blackout being caused by him. Because the other problem is that you have a lot of stuff going on. You have a third party come in and sort of manage to manage the HPG grid. You've got a lot of different changes to software, firmware, hardware to make the blackout happen. And then you got military attacks on the HPGs that didn't come down. Also that Stone could basically have his own Operation Scorpion. The irony of the guy who defeated the Word of Blake ends up becoming the next Mindu Waterly, who herself was a crazy Blakeist. There's so many moving pieces to this puzzle for this operation, and nobody leaked it. It's the same thing with like the fucking moon landing. Oh, the moon landing was fake, right? Okay, you had thousands of people who work for NASA, and none of them have come out saying anything was fake. Like, you're telling me that this many people have kept their mouth shut this whole time, right? It's the same thing with the whole blackout. Like, this many people have kept their mouth shut the whole time. That's really frustrating. Because it doesn't seem like it fits. And it's kind of clear too, because what Ben Rome, after he left being line developer for BattleTech, what he released is sort of his outline for what IlClan would have been is different than what we've gotten in terms of the cause. How real that was or how close that was to actually happening is a big thing up in the air. I guess him and Herbert Bias had ideas of what a second or like a return of the Word of Blake was going to look like. So yeah, it's just it hasn't been satisfying, and again, even the fiction has been frustrating because, well, take for example Children of Kerensky, which was I think the last book to come out, and it basically tells a story in the lead up to Clan Wolf and Clan Jade Falcon landing on Terra. It tells Malvina Hazen's and Alaric Ward's stories, in parallel with each other. And it feels like it's a placeholder. It feels like a filler arc, for like a shitty anime. Because there's no real tension in the story. It's just events that happen, Like there's not really any struggle. And I think what's also frustrating is you had a character like Alaric, and he's never in danger. Things just happen for him. And I know there's that event where he got captured by whatever her name is and like quote unquote tortured. I don't know how bad the torture actually was because he had no problem like adopting her into Clan Wolf and like making her his Sakon or whatever. Like it can't have been like that fucking bad if he did that, right? But yeah, it's one of those things like why am I reading this? Like I just get to hear read for 300 pages how fucking awesome Alaric Wolf is. And like, he's been planning the invasion of Terra since he was a teenager. Him and one of his best friends from his Sidco days, like they're just going to make it happen.
And this is coming from a guy who's a fan of Clan Wolf too.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things like you look at like all the other characters and what has happened to them and where they're at. People shit on Victor Steiner Davian all the fucking time. All the goddamn time. And he never had it easy.
Heck no.
So yeah, it's just and again, like I want it done. I want IlClan done, but I feel like IlClan is gonna be like Rise of Skywalker for me. Like you look at the Star Wars movies and they've got 4 good movies out of what, like 10 or 11 of them, right? Like they're batting under 500 in terms of good Star Wars movies. But I went to see them just because I had to, right? And goddamn, was Rise of Skywalker bad. And I kind of feel like that's what IlClan's gonna be like. And I hate to say that. I don't want to say that, but I want it done so I can put it behind me. Like I have to see it done.
2020 is the year that keeps on giving. You're not getting it in 2020.
No, yeah, we're not going to get Ill Plan anytime soon either, which is frustrating. But then that gets into so the one book I really did like that came out recently was Icons of War. That one was really good, and that takes place mostly in the home world, and it's part of sort of Lad Ward's scheme to really solidify Clan Wolf's legitimacy and really laying out the groundwork for them becoming the Ill Clan. And so if you guys get the chance, definitely read Icons of War. That's a really good one. I really like that one. But yeah, like there was another book, I can't remember who wrote Icons of War, but there was another book that Pardo wrote called Divided We Fall. And that one was really frustratingly dumb. And I know I'm talking a lot here, guys. I'm sucking up a lot of the airway with my whinging. But this one's going to be pretty heavily spoiler too. Is that Divided We Fall basically deals with Alaric's scheme or plan to again the legitimacy of Clan Wolf, and then bringing all of the parts of Clan Wolf together. Both the exiles, Clan Wolf in exile, and Wolf's Dragoons. And I think, okay, that's really cool. That's really clever. We're going to bring all these parts of Clan Wolf back together for the big hurrah, the big fucking showdown. It's going to be epic. And, in a previous Wolf's Dragoons book, kind of dealt with Wolf's Dragoons going back into the employ of the Draconis Combine, and again, not really being treated all that well. And we see that continued in Divided We Fall. So it kind of lays the groundwork for Wolf's Dragoons from leaving Draconis Combine's employ. Severing the contract. Big fuck you. History repeats itself. Everything rhymes.
Yeah.
But, the big problem with Divided We Fall is that it's kind of like an action movie, like a shitty action movie. Like they decide we have to have certain beats, and it has to happen here and here and here. And it means we got to have, it's a BattleTech book, so therefore we got to have a lot of mech combat. So we got to do that. And it doesn't matter how we get there. And so what ends up happening is that the guy from Clan Wolf who goes to talk to Wolf's Dragoons, tries to convince them to come for the big showdown. And it's like everyone takes fucking stupid pills, And so what ends up happening is that almost immediately out of the gate, the general from the Wolf's Dragoons says, no, we're not doing that, And then the Clan Wolf warrior says, okay, what would Jamie Wolf do? And rather than saying, okay, let's take a moment of introspection, basically, a good chunk of the Wolf's Dragoon says, ha, he would tell you to go pound sand. Okay, one, who the fuck says that? But okay, fine. And then ends up a convoluted plot with a disaffected, I think Delta Regiment's colonel and a couple of disaffected elements of Wolf's Dragoons, find a way to come up with some convoluted plan to, basically have an intra-Dragoon conflict, which then forces the general's hand to then break the contract and go join Clan Wolf. And Wolf's Dragoons mech warriors kill Wolf's Dragoon mech warriors, and then at the end of the book, they all fucking say, whatever, it's fine, sure, we killed each other, but it was only a company v company, so we're just going to go along with this Clan Wolf mech warrior, and that's the end of it. We'll break our contract, it's fine. And it's just, I hate to say it, it's just bad. It's dumb. And what really bothers me in stories is when characters forget or don't have the knowledge that they should have. And this was a big, big example. because, in it, the Wolf's Dragoons general says he's read all of Jamie Wolf's journals,
Mm-hmm.
which therefore means by default, if he's read Jamie Wolf's journals, he knows the reason why the Wolf's Dragoons did not report back to the clans after the last supply run. And it wasn't because they, quote unquote, went native. It wasn't because they hated their clan origins, let alone hated Clan Wolf. And in fact, the Wolf Dragoons, as far as I know, and maybe any of you careful readers out there will know differently, I don't think the Wolf Dragoons have ever fought against Clan Wolf. They fought against Clan Jade Falcon multiple times, including in the Dark Age, and they know how awful of a person Malvina Hazen is. So that should be motivation there. And they know what it would mean if Malvina went roughshod over the entire, inner sphere as Clan. Again, assuming that she could do that. But, again, like, they know. And what, at the time, Khan Curlin Ward, as part of the Dragoons Compromise, sent the Dragoons to scout the inner sphere. And then at the last supply run, he told them, I cannot stop the invasion from happening. It's going to happen within the next, couple decades. Your job now is to prepare the inner sphere for our coming, to protect them. And it wasn't fuck the clans. It was, we're going to protect the inner sphere. It wasn't, we're no longer, Clan Wolf. We were no longer of that lineage. That was always present. And so obviously it's much more complicated. And so for me, with Divided We Fall, it feels like we missed a far more interesting story of, it's kind of like, it's like Star Trek The Next Generation versus new shitty Star Trek, right? Like, we've got a bunch of fucking shitty CGI action scenes in new Star Trek. That means nothing. It's terrible. Versus, like, the scenes you go back to in The Next Generation where you see, Patrick Stewart as Captain Jean-Luc Picard giving these excellent monologues for his point. Passion speeches between different parties trying to resolve their differences. We could have had that. And then we could have had, the Wolf's Dragoons with a running firefight against, Clan Wolf, or, the Draconis Combine, preventing them from breaking contract. We could have had that instead. But, again, they all took stupid pills, and the Wolf's Dragoons General does not have knowledge he should have, and it was a real missed opportunity. It was a real missed opportunity. And it's really frustrating because I know we have these other books coming out, and I'm going to read them, and it's just, I'm not going to be happy.
I'm surprised a lot of Wolf's Dragoons or Clan Wolf fans haven't mentioned anything in any of the groups, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know how many people have read them. Again, Blaine follows these groups, and I don't want to just post and, I guess, again, I don't want to make my short story and submit it to the Shrapnel magazine and say it does get through, but it's still a bad story, and all these fans just shit on it. I don't want to say I could do this better because I don't think I can. But it does kind of feel like we're missing out on something better. Right?
Yeah. I think so. But I just think, I don't think it's really any of their fault. I just think it's the whole mess that Dark Age really is. Because it's almost been...
it sort of depends because I think sometimes they're told... I think sometimes they're told, like, these are the beats you have to have happen, and it doesn't matter how you get there in between. And then sometimes I think they're told, like, these are the things that have to happen, and this is how they get there. And so there's a bit of there's leeway in there. So I don't know what Blaine was told had to have happen, but yeah, I definitely feel like the way they got there this time was just meh.
Could have probably made it. Nah, yeah, the whole journal thing. That's a pretty big one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're going to drop a line like that, then yeah, again, I would expect there to be, you know, some sort of acknowledgement that matches what happened.
Yeah, you would think. I don't know. I'm gonna hold out for Clan Barak coming out of the woodwork and Dirty L Clan.
Hey, man, why not?
They've been
right?
buried underground the whole time.
I mean, you know, there's loads of things I wonder about, like, you know, hey, you know, what about, you know, what's going to happen with you know, Clan Wolverine, and will that ever be, you know, released? But I think that's going to stay. That's going to stay, you know, quiet off the side. You know, I don't know if that's ever going to be resolved.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things in the fiction like that. It kind of keeps the universe alive, makes it feel like it's like an alternate universe. You know,
Yeah.
it's good that they do that. But when it's something like you're talking about, like this is where the story's going, it's like you gotta do a little bit better with it. But yeah, it's to me, it's not that I'm mad. You know, it's more just like, you know, it's the dark age. It was kind of a mess. You know, it's been a mess trying to get there. You know, a lot of even with like Wars of Reaving, you know, a lot of fans were disappointed because of what happened to some factions. You know, some of it seemed out of character, which I can see that. Um, but yeah, it's just, you know, where do you go? You know, I personally, I just want to see the Dark Age over with. Like I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm
Yeah.
tired of the setting. I'm tired of like what it basically did. And I mean, I have no gripes against like the actual game itself because it brought people into it, and you know, it was content. It kept BattleTech out there, but the story. I even remember when they put the first novel out that Stackpole wrote.
Yeah.
I forget, was it Ghost of War or something like that? Or
Yeah.
Ghosts
Yeah.
of
Something
War?
like Ghost War or Ghosts of War. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was written in third person, and I remember so many people who read it, like they were so upset about that, of it being in third person.
You mean third person or first person?
No, or first person, my bad, first person, yes. Sorry about that.
You know, that would have been an odd choice. Yeah, I haven't read that one. You know, oddly enough, you know, it's one of those things. I've definitely come to appreciate Stackpole's writing a lot more recently. Uh, you know, having read, you know, most of his stuff for, you know, the original novel line, um, you know, the Warrior Trilogy, I think, was the first books he had published, and the big reveal with what's his name? He was the main character.
Kai.
No, Kai was his son.
No, oh God. Justin Allard?
Yeah, yeah, with
Yeah.
Justin. You know, the big reveal at the end that he was actually the double agent or one of the double agents. You know, that did feel a little out of nowhere. Like, there wasn't hints really peppered throughout. But you know, hey, I mean, that was his first novel. Like, these are things that, you know, it was an action pulp. So, you know, what can you do, right? These are things that you pick up as you get older, get more experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple of his other stuff that he wrote for BattleTech, he would kind of find like a favorite word, and he would use that a whole lot, which was, you would notice it. You know, like, this is not a word that is used a lot anymore, like in modern society. And so to see it over and over and over again throughout the novel, like, that would be kind of like, what the fuck is this? But he also knew how to have like really, really, really great character moments. And so in, like, to say like the Blood of Kerensky trilogy, especially with the Battle of Takayed, and like there's a really great scene where the Wolf Khan, Garth Raddick, yeah, I think it's from Felon Kell's perspective. You know, he gets you know, a Comguard Highlander, you know, shoots a gauze rifle right into the cockpit of Garth Raddick's Executioner. And I think it was like a stormy, like lots of lightning or something like that going on. It was at night. So a lot of those scenes are really cool. I think it's a malicious intent where Vlad Ward, I think Vlad's a really cool character too.
Yeah, I really like Vlad.
He
I don't like Clan Wolf a lot, but
you like Vlad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where like he's injured from the big like showdown between Vanda von Kistu and Ulrich Kerensky, and during the Refusal War, and he calls bullshit on Elias Kritschel like right in the Grand Council meeting, and demands a trial refusal. And he's got his arm is in a cast. He's got a hairline fracture, and Elias Kritschel tries to get out of it and says, "Oh no, but you have a weapon. It's a club on your hand." And Vlad like spins around, smashes the cast on the meeting table, which is not easy to do. Those fiberglass casts are pretty tough. But he smashes it.
Genetics, man.
And he rips it off, and he proceeds to beat the ever-loving shit out of Elias Kritschel and like kills him by stepping on his throat. And like I think it even describes like the popping sound of the vertebrae in the guy's neck. And it's really, really awesome. And I think also, I think the best thing that Stackpole has written that I've read so far for Battletech was actually his Kell Hounds trilogy, especially the second book, where the Kell Hounds have to fight against, and they got to tread carefully, but a rebellion on Galatea against a wacky fundamentalist Gnostic sect of Christians on the more rural part of the planet, and they could have copped that out. They could have made them a Muslim sect, which would in America would have been an easy out. But he sticks with it with him being Christian. Kind of like the Branch Davidians or something weird like that. If any of you guys are old enough to remember, like Waco, Texas, and all that kind of crazy stuff. And there's some really gruesome imagery in there too. And I think that in particular is probably the best thing he's written. And Stackpole knocked that one out of the fucking park. And the other really cool one is the third part in that series, focusing actually on Hans Dabian's older brother, Ian Dabian, hanging out with Morgan Kell. And this was like, what was this, like the early, the 3010s or something like that. So that was really awesome too. And you get to see their relationship grow. So yeah. I mean, there's definitely some really cool stuff out there in the fiction. But yeah. Yeah, there's some stuff worth reading. But yeah, the stuff with Ill Clan, man, I want it done. Because it needs
it's not hitting the same notes. It really isn't. And it's not like saying that Blaine's like a bad writer, because dear God, we all know he is not that.
Right.
It just
Blaine's
to
an
me,
excellent writer.
it's the whole setting. It's like right now with Stone with his heel turn, it's like this big rushed. It's almost like the universe itself forgot what it was, and it's just this big rush to get out of like this rut that it's been in for so long.
Yeah. That might explain why they're having trouble getting it done, right? They're trying to make it happen and they don't know how to do it.
It'd be interesting to pick someone's brain, behind the scenes to find out, because there has to be more than one path written out for it, and this one obviously is the one they've chosen, which in their mind was probably the best one to take.
Yeah.
But it would be real interesting to see how many paths they came up with it, because I'm pretty sure, like, even way back in the 80s when they were, or at the end of the 80s when they were planning out the clan invasion, they probably had a couple different ways they wanted to see that through,
Oh, yeah. Well, and I know the jihad was planned for a long time.
Yeah.
there's something like it was planned.
And you can tell.
They've been laying seeds for that since the end of the third Great Death trilogy, or third novel in the Great Death trilogy.
Yeah, and you can tell, which is how written out it is, and I don't know, it's like the overall tone of the product. Like it just has this confidence to it, and I don't really get that with the later era stuff now, like leading up to the Dark Age. It's like it's really not there anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like the best way to put it, but I don't know if confidence would be the right word.
I mean, there's obviously a reason why they do go back so frequently to the Succession Wars and the Clan Invasion. There's a reason why those eras keep coming up. And I hate to say it, but the Dark Age, it's kind of sitting like an albatross around the franchise's neck. And that's not saying it's easy to do. And I want to be happy. I really want to be happy with the book. I mean, I'm going to buy it no matter what because I want to know what happens. But I'm not like super crazy about it. Like I want it done.
Well,
that was a downer.
Hopefully we'll get it. No, that's not a downer. I mean, I guess it is.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Hey, maybe it's like your adventure looking for rules. That book's gonna come out, and you're gonna have to refer to different pages inside of another book to figure out, I don't know, whatever cryptic thing's gonna go on in Ale Clan.
Yeah. Well, again, with the Error Report 3145, which they released, God, that was a long time ago. When did that book come out? Man, that's how long it's been since we've had movements on stuff. But Error Report 3145, it was pretty good. It's oh God, 2013. Jeez.
Damn.
In there was references to a lot of different things that had happened. Including the death of the Wolf Khan. I think his name was Seth Ward, and then Catherine Steiner-Davian, who was absorbed into Clan Wolf, and that's a whole thing that shows up. They mentioned them both dying, and you don't really know why, but what happens, it turns out that, Alaric Ward killed both of them. He killed, his, I think a lot of it was centered around what was happening with the battle on Tharkad, and like those are things that you got in the fiction that came out around the same time, but not in the source book. And so that's things you need to see.
Yeah, here's to 2021 where we're gonna get Wave 2, which we're obviously gonna talk about that when we get it. I know I got Wave 2 stuff.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, maybe I got one of the miniature packs or something. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, guys, I was gonna wrap it up. I mean, we talked about for a good hour, and it's mostly me, flapping my lips about.
Well, to be fair, the other recording we did too, it was the same thing because it was really, you had a lot to get off your chest.
I did. That's why
I wanted to gush about the Kickstarter, and you wanted to gush about the fiction.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I read a lot of other books, but BattleTech's always, again, it's been near and dear, and I try to read what I can, and there's a lot of other books I've gone back and read that I didn't get a chance to read when they came out because I grabbed them off, they're like Barnes and Noble or something like that as an ebook. I think that there's a lot of cool books out there. I went back and I read, books from like the Capellan Solution, and then I think there's the Avanti Angels books. Then again, answer a lot of questions about, characters that were important and then disappeared, or that they were known to have died, but you don't know why they died. Sun Tzu Lao is a real badass. He's not in the traditional sense, he's not a mech warrior, but he, he's not a very lovable guy. He's not very affectionate with people, but I mean, he knows how to get shit done and kick ass. And he definitely knows how to pull a trigger. And like, those are things that, again, you don't get in the source books. That's where the fiction comes in. And yeah, you're missing that, but I'm glad we're getting more of it, but it's been leaving me hanging. So yeah, guys, if you read anything, definitely get Icons of War, and definitely get Stackpole's, Kill Hounds trilogy. Definitely get those. They're pretty good.
Yeah, if you haven't bagged the Kickstarter, you can still do it. I think you have like 2 more weeks, but definitely pick up some map packs, and get in on it. I think it's well worth it. It's some quality stuff, except for the dice. But hey, you can't win it all.
Yeah, that is what it is.
But man, episode 10, and we're like Debbie Downers.
Yeah. Well, just a lot of stuff. The whole world is kind of down on us. So what can you do, right?
Yeah. Hopefully the next episode will be in person. What will it be, 3 months from now?
Who knows? I mean, I'm hoping there'll be something to come out that can, we can kind of latch onto and talk about. Something that we can hopefully be a bit more excited about. We'll see. We'll see.
All right.
Well, you know what? I take that back. I know something to get excited about.
Uh-oh.
It'll be our next subject. It's why Alexander Kerensky sucks.
There we go.
Get ready for that one, guys. Get your finger on that unsubscribe button because I'm gonna shit on. He's gonna shit on Alexander Kerensky.
Get your bottles of Malort while you can, because we're gonna have the Kerensky cocktail debuting on that episode. Still haven't thought of it, but it will involve
sadness
Malort.
and regret and every bad decision you can make.
I mean, what would it be? You buy a bottle of Malort, go, I don't like this, and just throw it out your window because it leaves about as quick as Kerensky leaves the inner sphere.
No. See, the thing is, the hangover effect of Alexander Kerensky's bad decisions means you have to chug the whole bottle by the end of the episode.
Ooh. Okay, even I can't do that. Oh man, that'd be terrible.
So yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned, loyal listeners.